Alright, well you may have noticed in the last lesson that I had yet another little crash in layout, and unfortunately I haven't really been able to figure out why that's happening. But fortunately for us, I had an earlier scene that I had saved where I had already applied that particular expression that we were working with. So let me just go and show you the final part of that, and hopefully you won't have similar problems. Down here in the hip height Y, which is the one we were working on, the last thing we were going to do is apply the world position of the heel, the left heel, and the world position of the right heel. And I may have stated earlier that it was a channel, but actually it's what we're looking at is the world position of both. And that actually is a really good thing because it works then on all channels for the translation. The other thing I did here is actually in this last parameter, I think I had originally, if we go into Builder, I'll show you, hang on just a second, we were in hip height. This number down here corresponded to the hip minimum, which I believe I had set at 1.5, and I've actually gone back and set that at 1.1, which I found to be a little bit better. And if you go in here and turn on Auto Key, you'll notice that when we move the leg forward and back, that we're getting some nice hip movement on the Y axis as well. So let's go ahead and deal with the last two things that we're going to do, and then we'll wrap this whole thing up. I'm going to go back into Graph Editor, and I'm going to go into my hip set, and I've actually added in a couple more channels here. I've added in the heading of the zombie mesh pelvis, and also the pitch rotation of the zombie mesh pelvis. And what we're going to do is apply an expression to each of these, which is similar to the centering that we used before, but this time it's going to work on rotation. So let's go into Builder, and right now we're going to select Hip Turnout Type A. And just as we had experienced before, we're looking for a channel on the left foot and the right foot. And on this one, I'm going to select the left heel, and I'm going to pick the rotation in the heading. Now on the right foot, I'm looking for the right heel and also the heading rotation. Click Accept. This one I'm going to call Hip Roll Heading. Click Create Expression. Close that out. And now if I select the heading channel there, click Apply, close this, turn on Auto Key, and you'll see once I turn my foot on the heading that the pelvis is actually coming along for the ride, and it's actually doing a calculation there and centering itself between this rotation 46.5 and this, which is still should be 0. Okay, let me set that back to 0. Key that. Let's go ahead and do one more. Back in the Graph Editor and the hip set. We'll go to Builder, and we're still in the Hip Turnout Type A, and that's the one we want. I'm going to add a new channel. And this time I'm going to select a different object. I'm going to select the left ball. And where is that located? Let's see if we can find it. We've got a huge list now to look through. And I'm going to apply the pitch rotation. And now for the right foot, I'm going to find the right ball and apply the pitch rotation. Click Choose. Click Accept, and this I'm going to call Hip Roll Pitch, and create that expression. Now I'll select the pelvis rotation on the pitch, and click Apply, close that, turn on Auto Key. So what's happening here is actually I'm picking this channel so that when I rotate this on the pitch, the pelvis actually rotates forward a little bit with it, or actually rotates to the center point between that pitch and the pitch on the other foot. And this could be a handy thing that you might want to try out for some walk cycles. There may be some other benefits to it, and just to be aware of that one and test it out. But you'll notice here that we have a little problem, and that is that the eye target is moving along with our head. And the reason is because if you remember, when I created that eye target, I actually parented it to the head. So now that we have this control here, and actually it would have probably been a problem anyways, when the pelvis rotates, because the head is in that chain, that forward kinematic chain, all the way down at the bottom of the chain, it's rotating along with the pelvis, which is making our eye target move in ways that we don't want it. And this is one of those kind of things that you don't really, you don't necessarily know everything that's going to happen with your rig until you start getting in there and playing with it. But we do have a way to solve that problem. I'm going to show it to you right now. First, I'm going to save my scene. And I'm going to create a new null. And this one I'm going to call eye parent. I'm going to go into Options and deselect parent in place. Go into my schematic view and find that null. I'm going to put it right down here by the pelvis. I'm going to control click to parent that to the pelvis. And I'll go ahead and set a color for that. I'm going to set it black because this isn't something we're going to manipulate in our rig. It's just sort of a placeholder. Now back into the perspective view. I'll go into Options again, turn on Parent in Place, hit M for motion options, and unparent it. So ultimately what I want to have happen is I want to have this null follow the translation of the pelvis in the X, Y, and Z, but I don't want it to retain any kind of rotation information from the pelvis, because remember, that's what's causing our problem here. Because ultimately what's going to happen is we're going to take this eye target and we're going to parent it to the eye parent, so it will move along the plane and the X, Y, and Z, but it won't rotate out of place. So the way we're going to do that is actually a method that we already know. We're going to go into Motion Options, and we're going to use Follower. So I'll select Follower, and under here the item we're going to follow is the pelvis, but I'm going to deselect all of these rotations and scales, and then click OK. Now I'm going to go back into my schematic view, go into Options, and make sure that Parent in Place is on. I'll just turn on Auto Key, select my eye target, and parent it to the eye parent. So now you'll see, for example, if I select this again and rotate it, that the eye target stays in place. So, ultimately there may be still some counter animation happening here, but this has, I think, minimized the impact or the need for that counter animation, and that's a good thing because that's something we want to avoid. Okay, lastly, I'm going to go ahead and select this null, go into my scene editor, find it, I'm going to lock it down and hide it because I don't want it. So in this lesson we created a bunch of expressions using the expression builder, and we tied all those expressions to our pelvis to automate its placement in several different kinds of channels in translation and also in rotation. And as I said before, is this going to work for you? I don't know. You're just going to have to test it out in some projects, or try to see how well it works in your particular animation workflow. And hopefully, down the road, it may be something that'll save you some time. And you can easily just experiment with it here. If you just go in and start selecting zombie and moving him around, and look at all the cool stuff you can do now. Zombie's come a long way. He's all grown up. Okay, with that, I'm going to close out this series of lessons because I really want to go ahead and play with my zombie for a while. And certainly, just to reiterate once again, if you have any problems with these lessons or questions, do send me an email to info@digiwonk.com. And if you find out any cool techniques using expressions, I would certainly love to hear about those because I'm always looking for any new information. And with that, keep checking back at www.digiwonk.com for any future lessons we might be putting out. And I would expect that before long we'll have some more. Okay, take care.